أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين وحجة رب العالمين، المنتجب في الميثاق المصطفى في الضلال المطهر من كل آفة، البريء من كل عيب، المؤمل للنجاة، المرتجى للشفاعة، المفوض إليه دين الله. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أخته العقيلة زينب وأخيه أبا الفضل العباس، ورحمة الله وبركاته. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصيبة سيدنا ومولانا سيد الشهداء أبا عبد الله الحسين، وجعلنا الله وإياكم من الذين يأخذون بثأره مع ولده القائم من آل محمد. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: إن لقتل الحسين حرارة في قلوب المؤمنين لا تبرد أبدا. The tragedy of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdhal salati wassalam on the day of Ashura, 61st year after the Hijrah, is the greatest tragedy witnessed by mankind for many reasons. One, because of the person that was killed on the day of Ashura. The companions of Imam al-Hussein that were companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, the family of Imam al-Hussein that is also the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and of course the Imam, the third Imam, Al-Imam al-Hussein ibn Ali alayhi afdal salati wassalam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, the master of the martyrs, Sayyid Shabab Ahl al-Jannah, the master of the youth of paradise. The greater the person is, when a tragedy strikes them, the greater the tragedy is. When a person listens to the majalis of Imam al-Hussein, the first night of the majlis, the second night of the majlis, and going down the line until the day of Ashura, until he recites or listens to the maqtal of Imam al-Hussein, masra' of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalus salati was salam. If this individual knowledge of Imam al-Hussein has increased, the tragedy of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura, the killing of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura, for this individual becomes more of a tragedy, more of a musibah. We recite this in Ziyarat Ashura, where we say musibatan ma a'zamaha wa a'zama raziyataha fil Islam. There is no tragedy greater than the tragedy of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalus salati was salam. So if the knowledge of this person increases for Imam al-Hussein and the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, then you find then when he recites or listens to the maqtal of Imam al-Hussein, he can't hold on his tears. When he listens to people crying, commemorating the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalus salati was salam, he also cries. He also commemorates the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalus salati was salam. And this increases every year. This increases when there is majalis all around the world. I want to go through some of the events, some of the tragedies that occurred on this very night. We call this night Laylatul Wahsha. In Farsi we call it Sham Ghariban. It's the night which Ahl al-Bayt alayhim afdalus salati was salam, the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, have witnessed the tragedy, the killing of their dear loved ones, of the family members, of the companions. And then right after the killing of Imam al-Hussein, they were also attacked. And we're talking about a bunch of women, wives of Rasulullah, wives of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalus salati was salam, daughters of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, daughters of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalus salati was salam. And of course, you have children. It is said that after killing Imam al-Hussein, Umar ibn Sa'd, he ordered for the tents to be burnt. فأمر بالنار لتحرق الخيام فهجموا على الخيام. Enemy combatants, soldiers, armed to teeth, riding horses, coming, attacking, charging toward the tents in which in it there are children, women. And of course there is only one male. That is Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein, Zayn al-Abidin wa Sayyid al-Sajidin, our fourth Imam, alayhi afdalus salati was salam, peace be upon him, where he was laying on the plains of Karbala sick, and he couldn't even stand or lift a finger from his sickness. It is said they attacked the tents of Imam al-Hussein. They burnt the tents. ففررن بنات الرسالة من خيمة إلى خيمة ومن خباء إلى خباء وهن يصحن ومحمدا وعليا وحسناه وحسيناه وفاطمتا. If you think of it for a moment, brothers and sisters, and here we want to understand more of this tragedy. If you lost a loved one, you lost your father or your mother or your wife or your husband or your son, you need time to go through this tragedy. You need time to process it. You need time for people to come to you to give you their condolences. And that is why we have Fawatih, we have the Fatiha, then we have the Sabi', the Arba'in, the Sanawi. If someone from any community, that is from Iraqi community, Iranian community, from any community around the world, if they have a deceased family member, a loved one passes away, they need time to process the death of this loved one and to also receive condolences. Now, take this and think of what happened on the day of Ashura. They just killed Rayhanat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. They just killed Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalus salati was salam. And instead of coming to the young man and woman, to the children, giving them their condolences, or at least giving them time to process the tragedy, you find these people همج رعاة أتباع كل ناعق يميلون مع كل ريح. These people that are worse than hyenas, worse than beasts. They come charging at the tents of Imam al-Hussein, burning the tents and attacking the children. Here Lady Zainab salamullahi ala, she looks around and she sees children running to the right, to the left. What she should do now? Of course, to bring them all in one tent, to keep them safe. She runs toward one child here and runs toward another child there. Some of the children died from the stampedes of the horses. Some of the children died from the burning of the tents. Some of the children died thirsty. The remainder of them, Hamid ibn Muslim says, I saw a very young girl. Her clothes were on fire. وَكَانَتْ مَرْعُوبَةً, and she was scared, frightened. She was running in Karbala on that hot sand. So I was on my horse. I came after her. When she saw me approaching her, she became more frightened. So she ran faster. She fell on her face, unconscious. As soon as I reached her, Hamid ibn Muslim says, I came down from my horse and I went to her and I turned off the fire that was burning her skin and her shirt. When she saw some mercy from me, when she came about and she saw there is some kindness from me, I asked her, what do you want? Is it something you're asking for? Is it something you want? To which she replied, yes, I want water. That's the only request I have from you. I said to her, come with me. I took her to the Euphrates, to the Furat, She started looking at the water. And then I gave her a cup of water. I said to her, drink, اشربي. She looked at me and then she looked at the Euphrates. She looked at the waves of the water as if it's the stomachs of the snakes moving around. And then she took that cup of water in her hands. For 1 minute, she looks at the water, and the next she looks at the battlefield. I said to her, اشربي. Didn't you say that you are thirsty? أنت عطشانة. You said to me, you are thirsty. Then drink from that water. She said to me, Ya Sheikh, show me where my father is. I said to her, who's your father? To which she replied, my father is Hussein. I said to her, why do you want to know where your father is? She replied, Ya Sheikh, I want to take this water to my father because I heard him screaming, shouting, chanting, وحق جدي رسول الله أنا عطشان بحق جدي رسول الله أنا ضمان. I want to take this water to my father Hussein for him to drink from it. أنا أشرب لذيذ الماء حاشا وأهلي قضوا كلهم عطاشا. No, I cannot drink from this water. It is said that even on that night, the army of Umar ibn Sa'd came about and they brought all these children and women into one tent. The tent was half burnt. Half burnt. They sat down, the children of Imam al-Hussein, the family of Imam al-Hussein, his wives and his sisters and his daughters. They sat around with the children and then they brought them water. Umar ibn Sa'd ordered the soldiers to take for them water. He said, take for them water, let them drink. They brought with them cups of water in water skins and they placed them in front of them, pointing to them to the water, that drink. You have water right in front of you. And we are talking about children that haven't drank water for 3 days. Thirsty. One passes the water, the cup to the other child, and the other child passes the water to another child. The soldiers, they told them, why you refuse to drink from this water? To which they said, our father Hussein died thirsty. Our father Hussein wasn't given water. You want us to drink water? No, we don't want to. They refused. It is said that Lady Zainab salamullahi alayha, in this half-burnt tent, she saw that there are children missing. She came out. As soon as she came out, she saw a soldier standing right next to a tent. She asked him, what are you doing here? To which he replied, Umar ibn Sa'd has appointed me to stand here guard. Guarding who? Guarding you. From who? From the soldiers. To which Lady Zainab said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The night before this night, the night of Ashura, I had my brother Abul Fadl Abbas guarding the tents. And tonight I have this stranger, this enemy of God, enemy of Rasulullah, of the Prophet and his family, standing here guarding the tents. She came out of this half-burned tent, walking in Karbala, looking for the missing children. She saw one dead on the plains of Karbala from the stampede of the horses. And then she saw 2 brothers hugging each other. dying from burn marks and from thirst. She walked around this battlefield and this land of Karbala, and then she made her way to the battlefield to where Imam al-Hussein was killed. She looked around. The bodies, they have no head. How can you tell which body belongs to who? She came about and she saw a body that the status of that body is worse than any other. It's been cut into pieces. On it, there are spears and swords and stones, and the body is decapitated. She came to this body, she looked at it, and then she said, أنت الحسين أخي أنت ابن والدي أنت حمانا أنت رجانا. Are you Hussein? I can't tell if you're Hussein or not, but looking at the way you are, I can say that you are Hussein because of the hatred of these people, of what they done to your body, Ya Aba Abdullah. Then she stood facing Medina. This lady, Aqilat al-Talibiyin, Aqilat Bani Hashim, the mountain of patience. She stood facing Medina, calling out, Rasulullah, Ya Jaddah, Ya Rasulullah. صلى عليك مليك السماء هذا حسينك بالعرى مقطع الأعضاء لا رأس له وبناتك سبايا وذريتك مقتلة. يا جدي قوم، هذا حسين مذبوح مذبوح على الشاطئ وعلى التربان مطروح. يا جدي قوم، ما حد وقف دونه، ما حد وقف دونه ولا نغار غمض العيونه. Now, the tragedy of Imam al-Hussein, the tragedy of the family of Imam al-Hussein doesn't end with this night, with the night of Ashura, or even this night, the 11th. No, brothers and sisters, the tragedy has just begun. The family of Imam al-Hussein are about to leave Karbala. They are about to leave Karbala and they are about to go from a city to a city, paraded around. And the heads of the companions and the family members and the head of Imam al-Hussein is on the spear, looked at by the strangers, by the followers of Hussein and by the enemy. This is one side, and the other side is this, and that is about the doubters of this majalis, or the ones who downplay this majalis. Why every year you come and you commemorate the martyrdom of a person who died 1,383 years ago? Why every year you come and you give out food and you give out beverages and you turn on the lights of the Husseyniyat and the centers and you eulogize and you commemorate the martyrdom of Hussein ibn Ali? The answer to these people is many answers. Replying to them, there are many replies. Let's go through each and every one of them. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam himself said, إن لقتل الحسين حرارة في قلوب المؤمنين لا تبرد أبدا. For the killing of Imam al-Hussein, there is a heat inside the hearts of the believers, mu'mineen, that it will never subside. never ever it subsides. Every year you find it to become greater majalis, greater gatherings. And then they come, these doubters, and they say, it happened long time ago between two tribes, between two armies, both of them Muslims, and because of one hypocrite, there was this war, this battle. They killed Hussein ibn Ali following the orders of the Khalifa of their time. You have to start to let it go. It's enough that you cry for Hussein. It's enough that you commemorate the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein. How dare you say such a thing? How dare you say that it's enough to cry for Hussein? Your ancestors killed Hussein. That wasn't enough. Now when it comes to commemorating the majalis of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, you come and say, why do you have this majalis? Why do you have the processions going to Karbala? Why do you have Ziyaratul Arba'in? Why do you cook for the Zuwar of Hussein, for the Muazzin of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein? Why? Your ancestors killed Hussein ibn Ali. They killed Aba Abdullah, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Sayyid Shabab Ahl al-Jannah, the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and you downplay it? That this tragedy is like any other tragedies. And you have to start letting it go. It's enough. One of them, this mal'oon, this cursed one, Mufti Mink, that he comes and he downplays this tragedy, that it's the greatest tragedy. مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام. He downplays it. He says that on this day, the day of Ashura, fast because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, definitely the sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is from me, not from him. In one story, fabricated story, he saw the Jews fasting this day. Why are you fasting this day? Because this is the day that God gave power to the oppressors, to the oppressed, to win the war on the oppressors. So Rasulullah said, Moses is my brother, and I'm more entitled to fast on this day than you. Because of the fasting of the Jews, of the Yahud, he ordered the Muslims to fast. And he said, on this fabricated hadith, that if next year I'm alive, I will fast the 9th and the 10th. And this day, the day of Ashura, is a day of celebrating. It's a day of being happy, having weddings. And I don't understand why some people, this is what this man says, they commemorate the martyrdom of Hussein. I don't understand why some people, every year they come and say you are not allowed to have weddings on this day, to celebrate this day, or fast this day, or give out sweet on this day. This is the heresy, bid'ah. A mal'oon stays a mal'oon. And no matter what you do, you cannot change that. Or another one, the Mufti of Iraq said it last year and the year before and the year before. I don't know if he said it this year. But they try every year to put doubts in the Muazzin's minds, or downplay the tragedy of Imam al-Hussein, to which he said, yes, he fought the Khalifa of his time and he had no right to do so. He had no right to fight the Khalifa of his time. And you wonder, Who is Hussein? Isn't he the grandson of Rasulullah? Isn't he the son of Fatima al-Zahra? Isn't he the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib? Isn't he the one Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said about him, Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussein. Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein. أحب الله من أحب حسينا وأبغض الله من أبغض حسينا. Allah loves those who love Hussein and Allah hates those who hate Hussein. Isn't this the Hussein that we are talking about here? That you downplay his tragedy, saying that why every year you come and you commemorate this tragedy, it's enough, we should start to let it go, and this is causing tafriqa بين المسلمين, that you have to let it go so others also can follow you, they can have wahda بين المسلمين. Don't recite ziyarat Ashura, don't curse the ones who killed Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura just to make some people happy, just to keep face, just to maintain face. And how is this possible? And that is my question here. How is this possible? I sometimes wonder when I look at some Arab countries, the so-called Muslims, during this time, Muharram and Safar, and you see people that claim to be Muslims, followers of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, yet on these days in Muharram al-Haram, in Safar, they celebrate these days. They have weddings, they travel, they have vacations, as if nothing happened. I wonder, which prophet do you follow? What's your religion? If you truly are Muslim, look into the family of Rasulullah. If Imam al-Hussein is nothing, he's at least the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, isn't he? Yet you come and you downplay the tragedy of Karbala. And of course you blame others. Fulan and Fulan were the cause of this. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said in one hadith, fabricated hadith, that what? Whoever comes into the position of Khilafah, you have no right to question them. You have no right to stand in front of them. No matter who this person is, a tyrant, an oppressor, doesn't matter. Let them do whatever they please. Let them kill whoever they please. They drink, no matter. Doesn't make any difference. They kill the innocent, it's fine. They commit adultery, it's fine. And they said this a couple of years ago, to where they said, to this extent, if you see the Khalifa of your time on live TV drinking alcohol, committing adultery, killing the innocent, you have no right to say anything about this. Because of this hadith of Rasulullah, that you don't know what this hadith is from, what the source of this hadith is from, and it's definitely fabricated. It does not belong in Islam. If you open the Quran al-Kareem, you find Musa fighting the tyrant of his time, Fir'aun. Why didn't Musa just look away? If this hadith is from Rasulullah, then all prophets should also be aligned to it. Musa, he fought the tyrant of his time until he took the Israelites, Bani Israel, out of Egypt. Again, Ibrahim stood in front of the tyrant of his time, Namrud. Looking at all 124,000 prophets, they came to stand in front of oppressors, tyrants, Rasulullah himself, who you claim he said this hadith in his time, who were the rulers of his time? Wasn't in that time that when Rasulullah came into the position of prophethood by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, divinely decreed by Allah that this is the last prophet in his time, wasn't Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, Abu Sufyan and others from Quraysh, the tyrants of his time, oppressing, killing the innocent? Why did Rasulullah stand in front of them? Rasulullah himself, if he said that, as you claim, then he shouldn't be doing that. He should just sit down and say, oh, these are the Khalifa. We have to just sit down and listen to them. And we shouldn't say anything back to them. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam went to war with them, Badr, Uhud, 88 different battles. He went to fight the tyrants, the oppressors. Saying such a thing is silly. It's out of humans' intellect to say such a thing. Imam al-Hussein, when he sees there is a tyrant killing the innocent, drinking alcohol, being drunk 24/7. Of course, Imam al-Hussein, he looks at that and he says, ألا ترون إلى الحق لا يعمل به ألا ترون إلى السنة لا يعمل به ألا ترون إلى السنة قد أميتت وإلى البدعة قد أحيت. And then he writes to his brother Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, إني لا أخرج أشرا ما خرجت أشرا ولا بطرا ولا مفسدا ولكن خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي لكي آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن منكر. So I can enjoin good and forbid evil. Today, now, right now, in 2021, Afghanistan is run by Taliban. So you should tell everyone around the world, be quiet. Don't say anything. Let them rule Afghanistan. Even though we know these people are bloodthirsty murderers. We know that they're all criminals. But be quiet. Don't say anything. Let them rule Afghanistan. But no one with a right mind says such a thing. Imam al-Hussein, salamullahi alayh, an infallible Imam. Rasulullah says, Husaynun minni wa ana min Hussein. Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein. So the a'mal of Imam al-Hussein, whatever Imam al-Hussein does is as if Rasulullah is doing it. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, لن ينطق عن الهوى إن هو إلا وحي يوحى. Rasulullah doesn't come to say a hadith or a word, just to say it because he's my grandson. This is why I say he's from me and I am from him. Even if he says it, does he say, I am from him? Hussein is from me and I am from him. Hussein minni wa ana min Hussein. That means whatever Imam al-Hussein does is as if I'm doing it, standing in front of the tyrant, Yazid ibn Muawiyah. And you compare Yazid ibn Muawiyah, this mal'oon, this cursed one, who in these 3 years of his ruling of the Islamic Empire, the first year he killed Imam al-Hussein, the worst of the worst way. The greatest tragedy throughout the history was on the first year of his hukumah, ruling the Islamic Empire. Then the second year, he burns the Kaaba al-Musharrafah. Kaaba where we go to do pilgrimage, Kaaba where we stand to pray toward the Kaaba. Well, it's okay. Third year, he attacks Medina. Waqa'at al-Harra, he sends Musraf ibn Aqaba, this mal'oon, to kill the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. On one side, you say that we respect the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and you Shia, you don't respect the companions, you curse them, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were killed by Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Killed. Not cursed, killed. Even in that, Uthman ibn Khamis, another cursed one, he comes and he says, and he doubts this. He says, no, where is your proof that this occurred? You can say this about anything. Where's your proof? About anything. Where's your proof about the creation of the universe? Where's your proof about the creation of Quran al-Kareem? Where's your proof about your creation, my creation? Where's your proof about anything? Whenever you don't like a hadith, you come and you say that. Where's your proof? Where's the masdar? Sahihat al-sanad? No. Da'ifat al-sanad. It's weak. We can't believe it. But because, why? Because one of the companions, and they name him, he says that I saw who? Subhanallah. They come and they say, Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, he saw Yazid ibn Muawiyah, after he invited him to go to Damascus to stay with him for a couple of days. When he came back, they asked him, they said to him, how was he? What kind of a person is this person? This is after the killing of Imam al-Hussein. In their books, this is mentioned. To which Muhammad ibn Hanafiya says to them, the brother of Imam al-Hussein, the step-brother of Imam al-Hussein, he says, yes, I saw him praying, looking out for his prayers. He didn't delay his prayer. كان مواظبا على صلاته. And he liked to build mosques and he liked to recite Quran because of this hadith. And of course, again, this is fabricated and has no sanad and it's ضعيفة السند. Yazid ibn Muawiyah was a good person. And this is why if you go to the country so-called as Saudi Arabia, you see a book authored and published in there called Hayatul Khalifa Amir al-Mu'mineen Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Yazid ibn Muawiyah became Amir al-Mu'mineen, the commander of the faithful. And when it comes to the tragedy of Imam al-Hussein, alayhi afdal salati was salam, they downplay it. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إن لقتل الحسين حرارة في قلوب المؤمنين لا تبرد أبدا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أخته العقيلة زينب وأخيه أبا الفضل العباس ورحمة الله